Hey, this is the 6th lesson for this training course that lays the foundation to become a naturally attractive man. It is built upon a very simple rule for success. You watch each lesson and you continue to the next one only after you have done all the exercises in that lesson. The true power of this course lies on your participation. So, if you haven't been on this course from the beginning, then push the button on the top right corner right now. However, if you have, well, then let's continue with lesson 6. Has this ever happened to you? You are near your crush or a girl you find attractive and you could talk with her, but your mind just freezes. You have nothing to say really, or maybe you do, but it comes off awkward. You feel awkward at least. You see, a lot of men have either the fear of running out of things to say or not coming up with anything to say at all when talking to a beautiful woman. This stops men all over the world every day from meeting beautiful women, understandably, as they wouldn't want to make a fool out of themselves. I'm going to be straight with you. Talking with beautiful women isn't complicated. It's actually rather similar to how you interact with your friends. If it's complicated, difficult, anxiety-inducing, or whatever, it's because we have made it so in our heads. And in this session, I will give you the mind shift you will need to make conversations with beautiful women easier. I will also give you 4 topics to talk about when you need one. But first, let's talk about the problem. Where does it come from? Why is it so hard to talk to beautiful women? As you know by now, the average man believes that he is not good enough for a beautiful woman. So he feels the need to impress her. Therefore, he always tries to come up with something clever to say. When he doesn't, he either stays silent or says something mundane and feels awkward because of that. Needing to impress her is where the majority of his problems come from. When they are talking, there is always a nagging thought in the background. Does she like me? Does she like me? Does she like me? Keeping him from being in the present moment and connecting with her naturally. While she is talking about something, the average man rarely listens. He is too busy thinking about what to say next, how to impress her next. What the man in this situation needs is a mentality shift. As Zan in The Alabaster Girl said, a true lover never talks about himself when he sits down with a woman. How can he? The truly interesting subject is sitting right there in front of him. Hello beauty, tell me about you. Curiosity on its own is one of the greatest traits a man can possess. It shows the spirit of adventure, of learning, of becoming better. All these are massively attractive to women. And when interacting with a woman, being curious about her helps you stay in the present. Sure, there will always be a voice in your head, reflecting and calibrating, but this time, the inner voice helps you concentrate on her. Then you will pick up signals that most men just miss. When they are in their head, thinking on their next line, you are observing her. You are sharing a moment with her and ultimately becoming closer with her naturally. If a man thinks he isn't curious about women, then he has to decide to become curious. You can find something interesting, something to be curious about in any woman. There is always some mischief, some intrigue, something adorable, wise and beautiful to discover. A story to hear, something that gives you a glimpse of who she is. And this is absolutely mesmerizing to a woman. A man who is interested in her. A man who listens. Conversations can always go into millions of different directions. The 4 topics I suggest aren't the end-all be-all, but they are great topics to talk about with anyone you have just met and want to get to know a little better, including beautiful women. The 4 topics luckily form an acronym, so it's easier for you to remember them when you need to. F stands for family, O for occupation, work, school and such, R is for recreation, hobbies and passions, and D is for the dreams. Think of these as a safety net for you to fall back on when your mind does freeze for a moment there. Witnessing beauty does that. Embrace that moment. Breathe in and out, and feel your body. Then let your curiosity for her guide you. Before I go on to give you some tips on how to converse with these topics, I will give you the second and third mentality you will want to have. Enjoy the conversation. In the previous training session I said, your mindset when flirting should be to have fun. While having a conversation, your mentality should be similar. You should enjoy the conversation just for the conversation's sake. Just enjoy connecting with a fellow human being, even when she is the cutest girl you have ever seen and all you want to know about is whether or not she is interested in you. Especially then. As best as you can, be unattached from that outcome. Whether this conversation with this cute girl goes anywhere or not, at the end of it, you should still feel good about yourself, if for nothing else than at least for showing up and trying to connect with a fellow human being. Remember, be curious. Not every conversation you have with a beautiful woman should be about seducing her, but if you want to flirt, flirt. Listen, most men feel the need to talk about themselves a lot, to prove themselves worthy of her. However, your aim should be to have the other person talk more than you, or at least 50-50, because the best way to be interesting to a woman is being interested in her as a person, and the big factor here is, what are you curious about? The exercise of listing qualities you want in a woman should be a guide for your curiosity. Now, let's see how we should communicate. So, you are with a girl, and you're curious about her, but you have no clue what to say. Luckily, you remembered Ford. Should you then just ask, so, do you have any brothers or sisters? What do you do professionally? Do you have any hobbies? What do you dream of achieving? You might, but this has a high chance of turning into an interview style of conversation, which is boring at best. Since you want to have the conversation flow organically, I suggest making observations and giving statements. Recently, I was talking with a girl and I noticed how well built she was. Clearly someone who works out. Also, her demeanor was very laid back and a little boyish at times. So I wanted to know. A gentle tap on the back of her hand. I'm curious. Since you do sports and have this boyishly laid back attitude, I assume you grew up with older brothers. She laughed and then continued to tell me about her childhood. All I had to do was to pay attention, ask for clarifications, ask about the things I found intriguing, and the connection between us came naturally. Make observations and statements. Doing that is way better than getting trapped in an interview style of conversation. You mostly want to avoid questions that produce only a yes or no response. Let's take occupation as our next example. I was talking with this girl I just met like 5 minutes ago. You know what? Looking at you and listening to the way you talk, I get the feeling that you work in an office, as opposed to working in a bar or a store, for example. Yeah, I'm an accountant. Oh, so you're a numbers person. Cool, tell me, what do you love the most about your job? Before I go on talking about recreation, I want to give you one small piece of advice that will apply to anything, but is especially important here. Observe her. Does she even like talking about her job, or would she rather talk about something else? For some people, their work is their hobby and passion. For others, not so much. There's nothing wrong with switching a topic if you feel like it's appropriate. Okay, when it comes to recreation, hobbies, passions and such, I always hope to find something I know nothing about. That's the perfect opportunity to experience something new from someone who already loves it. Of course, if I know about it already, then my curiosity would usually drive me towards finding out why she likes this or that. What is it about that activity she loves so much? Where did she pick it up? Who introduced it to her? Will I be interested in this now? You want to be curious and you want to go deeper. So, if you'd ask me for a formula, it would be this. Step 1. Be curious. Step 2. Observe and make a statement. Step 3. Listen. And all of this is done with the end game being that you're finding out if and what you like about her. If you need to, use the 4 topics. That's the formula. I'm not going to tell you when the best time for any particular topic is because I don't know. It depends on your curiosity. What would you like to know about? It also depends on the mood and millions of other things. In other words, it takes experience. The more you are around women, the better you become. That's the golden truth. To sum it all up this far, most men draw a blank in their mind when they have a chance to talk to a beautiful woman, mostly because they believe they need to impress her. This keeps them stuck in their head and prevents making real connection with women. Instead of being in the "I need to impress her" mode, it's far better to become curious about her. Then you can find out if you actually like her. If you're curious about her, you will focus more on her, and then you will get clues on what to talk about next. The clues that most men just miss. If you don't know what to talk about, use the Ford method. By making observations and statements, get the conversation going. I flew by the Ford method, giving you topics and small glimpses on how I interact within those topics, and a loose formula for practicing it. I will touch on the subject of dreams in a future video, so we will skip it here. But now is the time for you to get some experience. For the first exercise, I want you to watch videos and take notes. After these, we will go to part 2 of this training session. Remember, no multitasking. Mindfully watch and take notes. Only go to my next video if you have completed all the exercises up until this point 100%.